coming in by sea.
del planeta.
90%. Each boat kills 25, on average, 25,000 people. We knocked out
Cada uno de esos
97%.
botes podría.
And those drugs mostly come from a place called Venezuela.
Ven-
We're going to run the country until such time as we can do a safe, proper, and judicious transition. So we don't want to be involved with having somebody else get in, and we have the same situation that we had for the last long period
Esto
of
es muy
years.
grande.
So we are going to run
Diciendo
the
que
country
Estados Unidos
until
va a
such
tomar el
time as we
control
can
de
do a
Venezuela
safe,
hasta
proper, and
tanto ellos
judicious
puedan tener
transition.
una
And it
transición
has to be
sólida.
judicious,
Eh,
because that's what we're all about.
Porque
We want peace, liberty, and
paz,
justice for the
libertad
great people of Venezuela.
y libertad para
And that
Venezuela.
includes many from Venezuela that are now living in the United States
También a los venezolanos
and want
de
to go
Estados
back
Unidos
to their
quieren devolverse
country. It's their
a su
homeland.
país.
We can't take a chance that somebody else takes over
No
Venezuela
van a
that
tomar
doesn't
chance
have
de
the
que
good of the
cualquier
Venezuelan
persona
people in
pueda
mind.
ir a tomar el control de
And
Venezuela.
decades of that. We're not going to let that happen.
Está diciendo que no va a dejar.
We're there now, and what people don't understand, but they understand as I say this, we're there now, but we're going to stay until such time as the proper transition can take place. So we're going to stay until such time as we're going to run it essentially until such time as a
Oh,
proper transition can
esto es
take
un breaking
place.
news. Hey, Donald
As
Trump
everyone
is
knows,
saying
the
that he
oil
will take
business
the
in
control of
Venezuela has been a bust,
until
a
the
total
transition is
bust
happening.
for a long period of
They are
time.
taking the control of Venezuela until the
They were
transition.
pumping almost nothing by comparison to what
He
they
will be
could
run the country.
have been pumping
Esto
and
que
what
está
could have
diciendo el
taken place.
presidente Donald Trump es extremadamente
We're going
serio.
to have our very large United States oil companies, the biggest anywhere in the world, go in,
We are live.
spend billions of dollars,
Esto es muy
fix
serio.
the badly broken infrastructure,
Que van a
the
arreglar
oil
la
infrastructure,
infraestructura de
and
Venezuela
start making money for the country.
y van a empezar a
And
hacer
we
dinero en
are
Estados Unidos.
ready to stage a second and much larger attack if we need to do so. So we were prepared
Y
to
están diciendo, y
do
yo
a
les pido
second
que
wave
pasen, que ellos están listos para hacer un segundo
if
ataque
we needed to do so.
si
We
lo
actually
tienen que
assumed that
hacer.
a second wave would be necessary, but now it's probably not.
Que ellos
The
habían
first
asumido que
wave,
era
if you'd
una
like to call it
posibilidad de
that,
hacer un
first
segundo
attack was so
ataque,
successful, we probably
pero
don't have to do a
que
second, but
no
we're
creen que sea
prepared to do
necesario.
a second wave, a much
Una
bigger wave,
segunda ola, y que esta
actually.
segunda ola sería una ola mucho más fuerte
This
de la
was
que hemos vivido.
pinpoint, but we have a much bigger wave
Que
that
ellos tienen una manera de hacer
probably
algo
won't
mucho
have
más
to
fuerte.
do. This partnership of Venezuela with the United States of America, a country that everybody wants to be involved with because of what we were able to do and accomplish, will make the people of Venezuela rich,
Que
independent, and
lo
safe.
que van a lograr
And it
ellos
will
van a hacer
also
que la
make
gente de Venezuela
the
sea
many,
rica,
many people
independiente,
from Venezuela that are living in the United States extremely happy. They suffered.
y
They
que las
suffered.
personas que
So
venezolanas
much
que
was
viven en
taken
Estados
from
Unidos
them.
están muy
They're not
felices
going to suffer anymore.
y que no vamos a sufrir más.
The illegitimate dictator Maduro was the kingpin of a vast criminal network responsible for trafficking
Y que es un
colossal
criminal
amounts of deadly and illicit drugs into the United States.
y que ha
As
metido
alleged
droga
in
dentro de
the
Estados Unidos.
indictment, he personally oversaw the vicious cartel known as Cartel
Que él estaba
de las
viendo
Solas, which
el
flooded our nation with lethal
era
poison,
uno de los
responsible for the
del mando
deaths
del
of
cartel de los Soles, que
countless
era uno de los
Americans,
carteles que
many, many
ha estado
Americans,
afectando a
hundreds
Estados
of
Unidos, que ha
thousands over the
afectado
years
a
of
miles.
Americans died because of him. Maduro and his wife will soon face the full might of American justice and
Que
stand trial on American soil.
van a estar,
Right now, they're on a ship. They'll be heading to ultimately New York,
ellos
and
están
then a
en este
decision will be
momento
made, I
Maduro
assume,
y su
between New
esposa
York
están
and
rumbo a Nueva York.
Miami or Florida. But we have people where the overwhelming evidence of their crimes will be presented in a court of law. And I've seen it. I've seen what we have. It's both horrible and breathtaking that something like this could have been allowed to take place. For many years after his term as president of Venezuela expired, Maduro remained in power and waged a ceaseless campaign of violence, terror, and subversion against the United States of America, threatening not only our people, but the stability of the entire region. And you all saw it. In addition to trafficking gigantic amounts of illegal drugs that inflicted untold suffering and human destruction all over the country, all over, in particular, the United States. Maduro sent savage and murderous gangs, including the bloodthirsty prison gang, Tren de Aragua, to terrorize American communities nationwide. And he did indeed. They were in Colorado. They took over apartment complexes. They cut the
En
fingers
la
off people they
imagen
call police.
tenemos, la imagen que está
They were
saliendo,
brutal.
tenemos al secretario de guerra,
They're not so brutal
tenemos a
now.
Marco Rubio,
And
tenemos
I
a
just
Steven
have to
Miller, que es, y tenemos,
congratulate our military,
está
Pete, and
felicitando a los
everybody, and our
militares.
National Guard,
Este,
because the job that they've done, whether it's in Washington, D.C., where we have a totally safe city, where it was one of the most unsafe cities anywhere in the world, frankly, and now we have no crime in Washington, D.C. We haven't had a killing. We had the terrorist attack a few weeks ago. A little bit of a different kind of a threat, but we haven't had a killing in a long period of time, 6-7 months. We used to have two, on average, 2 a week in Washington, our capital. We don't have that anymore. The restaurants are
hablando
opening,
de
everyone's
temas
happy.
nacionales
They're going, they're
y de lo
walking
que
their
tiene que
daughters,
ver
they're walking their
con
children, their wives, they
cómo
walk
ellos han
to
logrado tener ciudades seguras. Creo que
restaurants
lo
are
más
opening all over
importante es también
Washington,
porque el
D.C.
presidente de los Estados Unidos
So I want to
asegura
thank the National Guard. I want to
el
thank our
control
military, and I want to thank law
de,
enforcement. It's amazing.
em,
And they should do it with
tiene
more
tiene
cities. We're
control
doing it, as you
de
know, and
Venezuela, que ellos van a estar controlando
doing it
el,
in
el país
Memphis,
y que
Tennessee right
no
now, and crime is down.
eh,
Just sort of
lo
started
que
a
puede,
few
lo que
weeks
puede
ago, but
pasar.
crime
Está
is down
hablando
now
Donald Trump en directo.
77%.
Vamos
And
viendo, creo
the
que
governor of Louisiana called, great person, and he wanted us to help him, as you know, in a certain very nice part of Louisiana, and we have done that. And it was a rough
vamos a
section,
esperar que
and
venga
we
la
have
parte de preguntas y
climbed
respuestas,
down. I
que va a ser
understand it's down
vital
to almost
en
nothing
esta,
already after two
en
and a
esta
half weeks.
situación.
New Orleans, it's down to almost nothing, and we've only been there for 2.5 weeks. Can't imagine why governors wouldn't want us to help. We also helped, as you know, in Chicago, and crime went down a little bit there. We did a very small help because we had no working ability with the governor. The governor was a disaster, and the mayor was a disaster. But it knocked down crime. But we're pulling out of there when they need us. We'll know. You'll know. You'll be writing about it. And likewise, Los Angeles, where we saved Los Angeles early on, where the head of the police department made a statement that if the federal government didn't come in, we would have lost Los Angeles. That's long after the fires. That's when they had the riots in Los Angeles. We did a great job. Got no credit for it whatsoever, but that's okay. It doesn't matter. We don't need the credit. But we'll be pulling out when they need us. They'll call, or we'll go back if we have to.
De Donald Trump
We'll
está
go
hablando de
back.
temas
But we did a great job in
nacionales
various cities.
y
But
estamos
the place
avanzando
that we're very proud of is
esta
Washington, D.C.,
rueda
because
de
it's our
prensa.
nation's capital. We took it from being a crime-ridden mess to being one of the safest cities in
Hablando
the
de temas
country.
locales,
But
vamos
the
a
gangs that
la parte de
they
las
sent
preguntas y
raped,
respuestas que van a ser
tortured,
vitales.
and murdered American women and children. They were in all of the cities I mentioned, Tren de Aragua. And they were sent by Maduro to terrorize our people. And now Maduro will never again be able to threaten an American citizen or anybody from Venezuela. There will no longer be threats. For years, I've highlighted the stories of those innocent Americans whose
No
lives
van a haber más riesgos
were
para los
so
venezolanos
heartlessly robbed by this
que han
Venezuelan
sido robados por
terrorist
este gobierno.
organization.
Esta
Really one of the worst.
terrorismo.
One of the worst. They say the worst.
Una de las peores
Americans
organizaciones
like 12-year-old Jocelyn Nungary from Houston. Beautiful Jocelyn Nungary. What happened to her? They, as you know, they kidnapped, assaulted, and murdered by Tren de Aragua animals. They murdered Jocelyn and left her dead under the bridge. There was a bridge that will never be the same to so many people after seeing what happened. As I've said many times, the Maduro regime emptied out their prisons. sent their worst and most violent
Está hablando
monsters
sobre la
into the
migración
United States
venezolana y
to
lo que
steal American lives. And they came from mental institutions and insane asylums. They came from prisons and jails. The reason I say both, they sound similar. Actually, prisons a little bit more hostile, a little bit tougher. A mental institution isn't as tough as an insane asylum, but we got them both. They sent from their mental institutions. They sent from their jails, prisons. They were drug dealers. They were drug kingpins. They sent everybody bad into the United States, but no longer. And we have now a border where nobody gets through. In addition, Venezuela unilaterally seized and stole American oil, American assets, and American platforms, costing us billions and billions of dollars. They did this a while ago, but we never had a president that did anything about it. They took all of our property. It was our property. We built it. And we never had a president that decided to do anything about it. Instead, they fought wars that were
hablando sobre temas
10,000
que no
miles away.
realmente son
We built Venezuela oil industry with American talent, drive, and skill.
él dice que
And the socialist regime stole it from us
él dice
during those previous
que los gobiernos,
administrations, and they stole it through
administraciones
force.
robaron.
This constituted one of the largest thefts of American property in the history of our country.
Que ellos
Considered the
están diciendo
largest
que
theft of
los
property in
gobiernos
the history
anteriores
of
de
our country.
Venezuela le robaron el petróleo a
Massive
Estados
oil
Unidos
infrastructure was taken like we were babies, so we didn't do anything about
y
it.
que ellos
I would have
tomaron
done
todo
something
lo
about
que
it.
era la
America
infraestructura
will never allow foreign powers to rob our people or
y que
drive
nunca
us
va
back
a
into
permitir que gobiernos extranjeros roben
and
a su
out of
gente.
our own hemisphere. That's what they did. Furthermore, under the now deposed dictator Maduro, Venezuela was increasingly hosting foreign adversaries in our region and acquiring menacing offensive weapons that could threaten U.S. interests and lives. And they used those weapons last night. Potentially in league with the cartels operating along our border. All of these actions were in gross violation of the core principles of American foreign policy, dating back more than 2 centuries. And not anymore. All the way back, it dated to the Monroe Doctrines.
Él dice que
And the Monroe Doctrine is a big deal,
Monroe,
but we've
nosotros vamos a
superseded it by a lot,
y dice que la ha superado.
by a real lot. They now call it the Monroe Document. I don't know. It's Monroe Doctrine. We sort of forgot about it. It was very important, but we forgot about it. We don't forget about it anymore. Under our new national security strategy, American dominance in the Western Hemisphere will never be questioned again. Won't happen. So just in concluding, for decades, other administrations have neglected or even contributed to these growing security threats in the Western Hemisphere. Under the Trump administration, we are reasserting American power in a very powerful way.
Ellos dicen que de la administración
In
está
our home region,
volviendo a su poder en
and
la
our home
región,
region
en
is
toda
very
la región.
different than it was just a short while ago. The
Y-
future will be, and we did this in my first term.
Y que
We
lo
had
hizo en
great
su primer
dominance in my
termo y
first
que
term,
tenía
and
un dominio de la región.
we have
Les decía, esto
far
tiene
greater
que ver con un
dominance
tema
right now.
geopolítico, con un tema
Everyone's
muy
coming
serio,
back to us.
con un tema
The future will be determined by the ability to protect commerce and territory and resources that are core to national security. These are core to our national security. Just like tariffs are, they've made our country rich, and they've made our national security stronger than ever before. But these are the iron laws that have always determined global power. And we're going to keep it that way. We will secure our borders. We will stop the terrorists. We will crash the cartels, and we will defend our citizens against all threats, foreign and domestic. Other presidents may have lacked the courage or whatever to defend America, but I will never allow terrorists and criminals to operate with impunity against the United States. This extremely successful operation should serve as warning to anyone who would threaten American sovereignty or endanger
Esto
American
que acaba de
lives.
decir también es importante.
Very importantly,
Que
the
esto es
embargo on
una
all Venezuelan
amenaza
oil remains in
o
full
una
effect.
visión para los que
The
piensen
American
hacer algo a Venezuela.
Armada remains poised in position and the United States retains all military options until United States demands have been fully met and fully satisfied. All political and military figures in Venezuela should understand what happened to Maduro can happen to them, and it will happen to them if they aren't just, fair, even to their people. The dictator and terrorist, Maduro, is finally gone in Venezuela.
Él dice que lo más
People are
importante es
free.
que Maduro
Free
está
again.
fuera de
A
Venezuela
long
y
time
que
for them,
la
but they're
gente
free.
está libre en
America is
Venezuela.
a safer nation. This morning, it's a prouder nation this morning because it didn't allow
Esta es
this
una nación libre
horrible
ahora.
person and this
Y que
country
esta
that was
persona está libre,
doing very bad things to us.
que ha hecho cosas
It
muy
didn't
malas
allow it to happen.
y que no
And the
lo van a
Western
dejar que se
Hemisphere is right
no
now
van
a
a
much
permitir que pase el
safer place
hemisferio
to be.
y
So
que
I
el
want to
hemisferio
thank
hoy es un
everybody for
hemisferio
being
más
here.
seguro.
I want to thank General Raisin Kane. He's fantastic.
Está agradeciendo
And
a los
I've worked
generales
with a lot of generals.
y a
I
varios
worked with some
generales
I
que
didn't
estuvieron.
like. I
Marco
worked with
Rubio
some I
está
didn't
atrás y todo lo
respect.
que hace eso.
I worked with some that just weren't good. But this guy is fantastic. I watched last night one of the most precise attacks on sovereignty. I mean, it was an attack for justice. And I'm very proud of him. And I'm very proud of our Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, who I'm going
También
to
está
ask to
hablando
say a
con el
few words.
secretario de guerra y
Thank you very much.
cómo lo apoya en esta historia. Va a dejar que el secretario de guerra ahora hable. Creo que, insisto, la
Mr.
parte más
President.
importante tiene que ver con preguntas.
Finally, a commander in chief the world respects and the American people deserve.
Que-
As the president said, words can barely capture the bravery and the
Él
power
dice que
and
las
the
palabras
precision of this
pueden
historic
definir muy
operation. A massive
brevemente lo que
joint military
pasó
and law
con
enforcement raid
esta
flawlessly
operación
executed
masiva
by
militar
the
que se
greatest Americans our
para-
country
para
has to offer.
los americanos.
American warriors are second to none, the best in the world and the best of our country.
Que eran los
What
mejores,
all of us
son los
witnessed
mejores
last
del
night
mundo y eran los
was sheer
mejores del
guts
país.
and grit, gallantry, and glory of the American warrior. I'm simply humbled by such men.
Dice que está muy
such men.
orgulloso
I
de
tip
los
my hat
hombres que
to our chairman, Dan Raisin Kane, and all those Americans who stood watch last night.
Que
Our
todos
warriors
estuvieron-
are the elite of America, and again,
que son los
President
mejores,
Trump
los más élites
has
de
your
América
back.
y que lo va a tener.
No other country on planet Earth, and it's not even close,
Que no hay ningún país,
pull
un
this kind of
planeta,
operation off.
ningún otro
and no
país
other president
en el
has
planeta
ever shown this kind of
cerca
leadership,
y ningún país
courage,
está
and
mostrando el
resolve. The most
liderazgo que
powerful
están mostrando
combination
ellos, que es
the
la
world
combinación
has ever seen.
de lo que
As the
puede
president
ser.
said, our adversaries remain on notice. America can
Y
project
en este
our will.
momento que piden que los
anywhere,
adversarios
anytime.
vean lo que pasó.
The coordination, the stealth, the
La
lethality, the
coordinación,
precision,
la
the very long
precisión,
arm of American
lo que
justice,
hicieron
all on full display
es una
in the middle
justicia
of the
americana.
night. Nicolas Maduro had his chance,
Ellos le
just
dieron,
like Iran had their chance.
ellos le dieron su chance a
Until
Nicolás
they
Maduro
didn't
como
and
se lo han
until
dado a
he
Irán.
didn't.
Y esto es importante porque
He
Irán
left
está en la mira.
around and he found out.
Y él
President
la
Trump
jugó
is
y
deadly
entendió.
serious about stopping the flow of gangs and violence
que
to our country.
el presidente
Deadly serious about
está muy
stopping the
claro
flow of drugs and poison
no
to our
quiere
people.
que está
Deadly
quiere
serious
parar,
about getting back the oil that was stolen
quiere,
from us.
quiere
And deadly
detener
serious about
el-
reestablishing American deterrence and dominance in the Western Hemisphere. This is about the safety, security,
Él dice que
freedom,
van a
and
tener el
prosperity
petróleo que les quitaron y
American
van a parar la droga que entra a Estados
This
Unidos
is America first.
y que esto es
This
un programa de
is
América
peace and
primero.
strength. And the United States War Department is
Y el
proud
Departamento de
to help
Guerra
deliver it. Welcome to 2026. And under President Trump, America is back.
y
I'd like to
mano del
welcome
presidente
now
Donald
our
Trump, América
chairman,
está de vuelta.
Raisin Kane, to give a few more details about the operation, Mr. Chairman.
Y van a dar más detalles sobre las operaciones que lo va a hacer un general.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary.
Como le
Thank
decimos,
you,
nosotros le vamos
Mr.
contando
President,
lo que ellos están
and
diciendo
good morning.
a ustedes.
Last night,
Puedan
on the
tener
order of the President of the United States and in support of a request from the Department of Justice, as the President said, the United States military conducted an apprehension mission in Caracas, Venezuela, to bring to
Ellos hablan
justice
que fue una
two
operación
indicted
para
persons, Nicolas and
detener
Cecilia
a
Maduro.
Nicolás Maduro.
This operation, known as Operation Absolute Resolve, was discreet, precise, and
Y
conducted
dice que fue
during
una
the darkest
operación
hours of January
en
2nd and
las
was
horas
a
más
culmination
las horas más
of months of
oscuras
planning and
y que
rehearsal,
fueron muchos
an
meses de
operation that
planeación.
frankly only the United States military could undertake. What I'd like to do this morning is talk to you through some of the preparation and the details without compromising
Ok,
any
esta
of our
parte es súper
tactics,
importante porque va a
techniques,
hablar
and
de cómo
procedures.
fue la
There is
preparación de
always
este
a
proyecto
chance
y
that
cómo
we'll be
además
tasked
ha
to do
sido
this type of
las
mission again.
tácticas que usaron sin poner en
Our
riesgo
interagency work
a su
began
grupo.
months ago and built on decades of experience of integrating complex air, ground, space, and maritime
Me
operations.
dicen que esta preparación
While the
estuvo
past 2
meses.
decades have honed the skills of our special operations forces, this particular mission required every component of our joint force, with soldiers, sailors, airmen,
Todos los
Marines, and
componentes
Guardians
de
working in
las
unison
Fuerzas Armadas
with
de
our
Estados Unidos
intelligence agency
participaron
partners and
con
law
las agencias de
enforcement teammates
inteligencia en este
in an unprecedented operation.
en esta
We leveraged our unmatched intelligence capabilities and our years of experience in hunting terrorists. And we could not have done this mission without the incredible work by various intelligence agencies, including the CIA, NSA, and NGA.
está hablando de todas
We
las agencias que
watched,
participaron.
we waited, we prepared, we remained patient and professional. This mission was meticulously planned, drawing lessons from decades of missions over the last
Que
many
esta
years,
misión fue
decades
misión
of many missions
planificada
over these last many years.
por
This was an audacious operation that only
audaz.
the United States could do. It required the utmost of precision and integration within our joint force. And the word integration does not explain the sheer complexity of such a mission. An extraction so precise, it involved more than 150 aircraft launching across the Western
Ellos
Hemisphere
dicen que
in
fueron más de
close coordination,
150 aviones
all
que tuvieron que
coming
mover
together
el
in
hemisferio
time and
y
place
todos
to
estaban
layer
puestos en
effects
momentos
for a single purpose: to get an interdiction force into downtown Caracas while maintaining the element of tactical surprise.
que ellos
Failure of one
poder
component
entrar
of
al
this
centro de
well-oiled
Caracas
machine
y que todo
would
pudiera
have
ser
endangered the entire mission, and failure is never an option
y
for
que ellos
America's
podían
joint
fallar.
force. Those in the air over Caracas last night were willing to give their lives for those on the ground and in the helicopters.
Que había
Let me
gente
talk a little bit about the
y
preparation.
había gente
After months of work by our intelligence
en,
teammates
en
to
el,
find
que lo
Maduro
estaban en el
and
celular para dar
understand
su vida por
how he moved,
en la tierra.
where he lived, where he traveled, what he ate, what he wore, what were his pets. In early December, our force was set pending a series of aligned events. Key was choosing the right day to minimize the potential for civilian harm
Que ellos también
and
escogieron un
maximize
día
the
que
element
pudiera ser
of
mucho más
surprise
sencillo para
and minimize the harm to
minimizar
the
los
indicted
daños
personnel,
a
so as the
personas
president said, they
externas.
could be brought to justice. And as the president said earlier today, weather in Venezuela is always a factor this time of the year. And over the weeks through Christmas and New Year's, the men and women of the United States military sat ready, patiently waiting for the right
Los
triggers
militares
to
estaban
be met
esperando
and the president
que
to
el
order us
clima de
into
Venezuela
action.
también era un tema y esperaron
Last night, the
en
weather broke
Navidad,
just enough, clearing a
y
path
en Año Nuevo
that only the most
noche, el
skilled
clima permitió
aviators in the world
que
could maneuver through.
podrían trabajar y
Ocean,
por eso es que
mountain, low cloud ceilings. But when tasked with a mission, this organization does not quit. At 10:46 p.m. Eastern time last night, the president ordered the United States military to move forward with this mission. He said to us, and we appreciate it, Mr. President, good luck and Godspeed. And those words were transmitted to the entire joint force. Over the course of the night, aircraft began launching from 20 different bases on land and sea across the Western Hemisphere. In total, more than 150 aircraft, bombers, fighters, intelligence, reconnaissance, surveillance, rotary wing were in the air last night. Thousands and thousands of hours of experience were airborne. Our youngest crew member was 20, and our oldest crew member was 49.
dice que de los
And there's
que
simply no
participaron,
match for American military
militar
might.
más joven tenía 20
As
y
the
el
night
más viejo
began, the
39.
helicopters took off with the extraction force, which included law enforcement officers, and began their flight into Venezuela at 100 feet above the water. As they approached Venezuelan shores, the United States began layering different effects provided by Spacecom, Cybercom, and other members of the interagency to create a pathway. Overhead, those forces were protected by aircraft from the United States Marines, the United States Navy, the United
Estaban
States Air
hablando que
Force,
los
and the Air National Guard.
o los aviones que
The
estaban
force
primero
included
estaban protegidos por
F-22s,
otros aviones
F-35s,
que estaban
F-18s, EA-18s,
y esta-
E-2s, B-1 bombers, and other support aircraft, as well as numerous remotely piloted drones. As the force began to approach Caracas, the Joint Air Component began dismantling and disabling the air defense systems in Venezuela,
ellos
employing
desarmaron
weapons
los
to ensure the safe
sistemas
passage
de
of the
defensa de
helicopters
Venezuela para
into the
poder
target area.
tener paso abierto.
The goal of our air component was, and always will be to protect the helicopters and the ground force and get them to the target
La
and
meta
get
era
them
poder
home.
proteger a los
As the
helicópteros y a los
force
que estaban en
crossed the
tierra.
last
Es decir,
point of
entraron
high
por tierra,
terrain
o había
where
gente
they'd
en tierra.
been hiding in the clutter, we assessed that we had maintained totally the element of surprise.
Y ellos aseguran
As
que
the
todo
helicopter
fue
force
sorpresa.
ingressed towards the objective at low level, we arrived at Maduro's compound at 1:01 a.m.
A la 1:01
Eastern Standard Time
entraron
or 2:01 a.m. Caracas local time.
a las 12
And the
hora de
apprehension force
Venezuela.
descended into Maduro's compound and moved with speed, precision,
Fue cuando
and
entraron
discipline towards their
a detener
objective
a Maduro.
and isolated the area to ensure the safety
Y
and security of the ground
sellaron,
force
sellaron
while
el área
apprehending the indicted persons.
para poder ellos
On arrival into the target area, the helicopters came under fire and they replied with that fire with overwhelming force and
ellos
self-defense.
recibieron fuego
One of our
cruzado,
aircraft was hit but remained flyable, and as the president
que
said
uno
earlier
de los
today, all of our
helicópteros
aircraft came home,
recibió un
and
tiro,
that aircraft remained flyable during the rest of the mission.
podía volar sin problema.
As the operation unfolded at the compound, our air and ground intelligence teams provided real-time updates to the ground force, ensuring those forces could safely navigate the complex environment without unnecessary risk. The force remained protected by overhead tactical aviation. Maduro and his wife, both indicted, gave up and were taken into custody by the Department of Justice, assisted by our incredible U.S. military with professionalism and
Y
precision,
fueron entregados al
with
Departamento de
no
Justicia de los
loss
Estados
of
Unidos
U.S. life.
sin perder ninguna vida de
After
Estados Unidos.
securing the indicted persons, the force began to prep for departure. Helicopters were called in to exfiltrate the extraction force, while fighter aircraft and remotely piloted aircraft provided overhead coverage and
Ellos
suppressive
tenían
fire.
una vez
There
ahí
were
los helicópteros
multiple
salieron y
self-defense
después de
engagements
eso
as
tuvieron
the
los aviones que
force
estaban
began to withdraw out
protegiendo
of
a
Venezuela.
estos
The
helicópteros.
force successfully exfiltrated and returned to their afloat launch bases, and the force was over the water at 3:29 a.m. Eastern Standard Time with indicted persons on board.
O
And
sea,
both
1 hora y media
Maduro and his wife were
duró la
embarked
operación
aboard the USS Iwo Jima.
y ya lo tenían
In closing,
de
what we've witnessed today is a powerful demonstration of America's joint force.
y es la
We think,
demostración de fuerza de
we
Estados Unidos.
develop, we train, we
1 hora
rehearse,
y media
we
habría entonces
debrief,
durado
we
esta
rehearse
operación
again
militar.
and again, not to get it right, but to ensure that we cannot get it wrong. Our jobs are to integrate combat power so when the order comes, we can deliver overwhelming force at the time and the place of our choosing against any foe anywhere in the world.
Y
I am immensely proud
como
today
amenaza
of our
para
joint force
otros
and
lugares
filled with
donde hay
gratitude to
dificultades
represent
o
them here
diferencias con
today.
Estados Unidos que vean lo
There
que
is
pasa allí.
simply no mission too difficult for these incredible professionals and the families that stand by them and support them. As we stand here this morning, our forces remain in the region at a high state of readiness,
Que las fuerzas siguen en la
prepared to
región
project power, defend themselves, and our interests in the region. This operation is a testament to the dedication and unwavering commitment to justice and our resolve to hold accountable those who threaten peace and stability. In closing, I want to express my heartfelt gratitude to the brave men and women who executed this mission. Their courage and tireless commitment to our nation are what makes us strong. Thank you, Mr. Secretary, and thank you, Mr. President.
Well, I don't have much to add to what you've heard now, other than the following points. Nicolas
Habla
Maduro was indicted in
Marco Rubio,
2020
secretario de
in the
Estado,
United States.
y él dice
He is not the legitimate president of
que no
Venezuela.
es un
That's not just
presidente
us
legítimo
saying
de
it. The
Venezuela.
first Trump administration, the Biden administration, the second Trump administration, none of those three recognized him. He's not recognized by the European Union and multiple
Que
countries
no,
around the
que no es un
world.
presidente
He is a
reconocido
fugitive of American justice with a $50 million reward,
y que
which I
también
guess we say
50
$50
millones de
million.
dólares por la cabeza de
And
pueblo.
We should make sure.
yeah, exactly. But
Don't let anybody claim it. Nobody deserves it.
Y
But I
Trump
want to be
me
clear
dice
about
que
one
nadie
thing.
va a venir a
Nicolas
cobrar
Maduro
esos
had
50
multiple
millones.
opportunities to avoid this.
Y
He was
que Maduro
provided
tuvo muchas
multiple very,
oportunidades
very,
para,
very generous offers
se le dieron
and chose
oportunidades.
instead to act like a wild man, chose instead to play around.
Él
And the
él
result is
decidió
what we saw
jugar.
tonight. The other message here is the following. You have a guy, like many people around the world, they like to play games. You have a guy who decides he's going to invite Iran into his country, is going to, do the confiscation of American oil companies, is going to flood our country with gang members, is going to take Americans prisoner and try to hold them for hostage and trade them like he was able to do with the Biden administration. Basically likes to play games all this time and thinks nothing's going to happen. And I hope what people now understand is that we have a president. The 47th president of the United States is not a game player.
Él dice
When he
que
tells you that he's going to do something, when tells you he's going to
no es
address
un
a
presidente
problem,
para
he
jugar.
means
Que
it.
tenemos
He
un,
actions it. I can tell you, I've watched this
dice
process now for 14, 15 years, been around it. Everybody talks. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. When I get there, we're going to do this. We're going to take. This is a president of action.
y que él
Like,
tenía
I don't
15
understand
años,
yet
dice
how
Marco
they
Rubio,
haven't figured this
hablando,
out.
viendo y escuchando.
And now, if you don't know, now you know.
Y ahora sí
Because
lo van a
this is the
hacer.
way it's going to play out. And I think
Y
people need to
la gente
understand that
tiene
this
que
is not a
entender que
president
de
that
la
just
forma en que
talks and does
Estados
letters
Unidos
and
va a
press
jugar,
conferences. And,
que va,
if he
lo
says
que
he's
dice lo
serious
hace.
about something, he means it.
Y que si lo dice, que
And
lo va
this
a
is
hacer.
something that was a direct threat to the national interest of the United States. And the president addressed it. There's a president of peace, by the way. I told you what I just said earlier. This guy had multiple opportunities
Y ellos
to find
dicen
his way somewhere
de la
else
paz.
and
Ellos
figure out another.
tuvieron
He could have been living
muchas,
somewhere else right now, very happy.
muchas
But
oportunidades para
instead,
que
he
se
wanted to play
fuera
big boy.
y,
So now, he's got other sets of problems on his hands.
y que le
And
dijeron
but I
muchas
think that the
oportunidades para que se
message
fuera a
here
vivir otro
should
sitio,
be
¿no?
for the
Y
world.
ahora él
Look,
tiene
the
otros
president
problemas que
doesn't
tiene
go
que
out looking
enfrentar.
for people to pick fights with. He's not generally wants to get along with everybody.
Que,
We'll talk and meet with anybody.
que ellos se quieren
But don't
reunir
play
con cualquier
games.
personas, pero que no
Don't play
jueguen,
games with this president's in office
no
because
jueguen
it's
con
not
los
going to turn out well.
presidentes
And
del
so
país.
I hope that I guess that lesson was learned last night, and
Que
we
una
hope it'll be
lección se ha
instructive moving
aprendido.
forward.
Ahora viene la parte de preguntas y respuestas y esta parte es súper importante.
Please.
¿Quién está
So
del
we're
poder
going to
en
be running
Venezuela?
it with a group, and we're going to make sure it's run properly. We're going to rebuild the oil infrastructure, which
Que
will
lo va,
cost
vuelve a decir
billions of dollars. It'll
que
be
el
paid for by
país
the
va a
oil
estar
companies directly.
corriendo con un grupo
They will
que lo van a, que va a
be
mandar.
reimbursed for what they're doing, but that's going to be paid. And we're going to get the oil flowing the way it should be. As you know, it was just a
Ellos
minor
van a
flow. It was
recuperar la
actually a minor
industria y
flow for
van
what
a
they
tener
had. But we're going to run it properly.
petróleo
We're going to make sure the people of Venezuela are taken care of.
y que va
We're going to make sure the people that were forced out of Venezuela by this thug are also taken care of.
President, does the U.S. running the country mean that U.S. troops will be on the ground? How will that work?
Ellos quieren decir
Well,
cómo van a
they
ver
always say boots on the ground. Oh, so we're not afraid of boots on the ground if we have to have. We had boots on the ground last night at a very high level.
no tienen
actually.
miedo en tener
We're not
militares
afraid
en
of
la
it.
tierra y
We
que ayer
don't mind saying it.
dentro del
But
territorio
we're
venezolano
going
y
to
que
make
ayer
sure that
tuvieron
the country is run
militares
properly. We're not doing this in vain. This is a very dangerous attack. This is an attack that could have gone very, very badly. Could have gone very badly. We could have lost a lot of people last night. We could have lost a lot of dignity. We could have lost a lot of equipment. The equipment is less important, but we could have lost a lot.
Él dice que fue
And we're going to make sure that this is proper. We're there now. We're ready to go again if we have to. We're going to run the country right. It's going to be run very judiciously, very fairly. It's going to make a lot of money. We're going to give money to the people. We're going to reimburse people that were taken advantage of.
que
We're
ellos,
going to take care of everybody.
que ellos van
It's
a
very important.
tener
We couldn't
cuidado.
let them get away with it. They stole our oil. We built that whole industry there.
Ellos dicen que ellos fueron los
And
que
they just took it
crearon
over like we were nothing.
de
And we had a
todos y ellos
president
se
that
quitaron eso.
decided not to do anything about it. So we did something about it. We're late, but we did something about it.
Ellos
Yeah, please.
es tarde, pero que lo están haciendo.
mechanism by which you're going to run the country? Are you going to designate a U.S. official
Yes,
to
yes,
coordinate?
it's
Can you
all
just
being
unpack that?
done right now. We're designating people. We're talking to people. We're designating various people, and we're going to let you know who those people are.
Él dice que sí, que se han designado unas personas
Would run
para
Venezuela.
Well, it's
liderar.
largely going to be for a period of time. The people that are standing right behind me, we're going to be running it. We're going to be
Dice que
bringing
las
it back.
personas que
It's
están detrás de
a
él
dead,
son
you know, I talk
quienes
about a
van
dead
a
country.
dirigir a
A
Venezuela.
year and a half ago, we were a
Las
dead
partes
country.
que
Now
van a
we're
estar detrás de
the
él.
hottest
Está
country
Marco
anywhere in
Rubio,
the world. We're
está el
a country doing
secretario
better than any
de
country
Guerra.
anywhere in the world. And it required leadership. Venezuela has a lot of bad people in there, a lot of bad people that shouldn't be leading. We're not going to take a chance that one of those people take over for Maduro.
No van a
So
dejar
you can look at,
que han
and
liderado
others. We have
tomen el
fantastic
tiempo,
people,
puedan tomar
including
el
people in the military. So we're going to have a group of people running it until such time as it can be put back on track, make a lot of money for the people, and give people a great way of life, and also reimbursement for people in our country that were forced out of
Esto creo que
Venezuela.
es lo más importante de lo que está diciendo, que el gobierno de Estados
Rubio
Unidos
would be
You said earlier today that you weren't going to back Machado to come back and be the opposition leader in your Fox and Friends interview. And then you also mentioned the vice president of Venezuela. Are you going to work with the vice president of Venezuela, or how do you foresee the relationship
Well, I
going?
understand she was just sworn in, but she was, as you know, picked by Maduro. So Marco's working on that directly. He just had a conversation with her, and she's essentially willing to do what we think is necessary to make Venezuela great again. Very simple.
Ok, importante.
Mr. President, Colombian President
Marco
Gustavo
Rubio habría
Petro,
hablado con
a
Delcy
couple weeks ago, he said
Rodríguez y
he's got
que
to watch
Delcy
his ass.
Rodríguez está dispuesta a
And
hacer lo
today
que
he
yo
said he's
diga.
not concerned about anything happening
Básicamente.
to him in the aftermath of this operation. So, just what your message is
Well,
about
he
that.
has cocaine mills. He has factories where he makes cocaine. And yeah, I think I stick by my first statement. He's making cocaine. They're sending it into the United States. So he does have to watch his ass.
Rubio
Mr.
and
President, did you notify any members of Congress in advance?
Marco, do you want to talk about that? Because you weren't.
Están hablando sobre el tema de la notificación al Congreso de los
It's not
Estados
the
Unidos.
kind of mission that you can do congressional notification on. It was
Ellos dicen
a
que
trigger-based
era una
mission in
misión
which
para
conditions had to be
informarle
met
al
night after
Congreso.
night. We watched and monitored that for a number of days. So it's just simply not the kind of mission you can call people and say, hey, we may do this at some point in the next 15 days. But it's largely a law enforcement function. Remember, at the end of the day, at its core, this was an arrest of 2 indicted fugitives of American justice, and the Department of War supported the Department of Justice in that job. Now, there are broader policy implications here, but it's just not the kind of mission that you
Que
can
no es una
pre-notify
misión que
because
ellos
it
podían
endangers
decirle al
the mission.
Congreso y que ellos lo que fueron a arrestar a 2 personas.
Plus, if I could add one thing to that, Congress has a tendency to leak.
Y que ellos
This
no lo
would not
el
be good.
Congreso sabía
If they
que
leaked,
hacían algo, el
General, I think
Congreso
it
lo
would
iba a
have been maybe a
controlar
very different result.
y hubiese tenido unos resultados
I
diferentes.
have to say, they knew we were coming at some point, you know. A lot of
Él
ships
dice
out
que
there,
él
they
sabe que el
sort of
Congreso
knew we
sabía
were
en algún
coming.
momento que ellos
We
lo estaban
wasn't.
haciendo.
But Congress will leak, and we don't want leakers.
Que ellos no quieren que salga la información antes que pase.
people to watch this all play out live. What was Maduro doing when the U.S. forces entered what I assume would be his home? And also, was there any point where the U.S. was considering if Maduro pushed back or resisted killing Maduro?
Le está
It could have
preguntando
happened.
que
It
si
could have
Maduro
happened.
hubiese
He was trying
resistido,
to
lo
get
han
into
podido
a safe
matar.
place. You know, the safe place
Él estaba
is all
tratando de entrar a
steel,
una zona de seguridad
and he wasn't able to make it to the door
y no logró
because
hacer y llegar
guys
hasta
were
la
so
zona de
fast.
seguridad.
They went through
Que fue muy
the
rápido,
opposition so fast, and there was a lot of opposition. You know, people
que ellos
were wondering, do we get them by surprise? Sort of surprised, but they were waiting for something. It was a lot of opposition.
que,
There was a
que
lot of gunfire. You saw some of it today.
hubo fuerzas, que hubo
But
algún
he was
momento
trying to
que
get
sí
to
se
a
hubo
safe
disparos.
place, which wasn't safe because we would have had the door blown up in about 47 seconds, they say on average, regardless of how thick the steel was. It was a very
47
thick door. It was a
segundos.
very heavy door, but he was unable to get to that door. He made it to the door. He was unable to
Él
close
llegó
it.
hasta la puerta de seguridad, pero no logró entrar a la puerta de seguridad.
Go ahead, finish.
To be in the time being right now, do you know his exact
Well,
whereabouts?
eventually, ultimately, in the near future, he's going to be brought to New York.
And where is he going to be
Mr.
held?
President.
Where is he going to be held? In
Va a ser llevado a
That's
New
going to
York,
be up
pero
to
está en
the
New York.
officials that do these things.
Mr. President, the U.S. has something of a mixed track record of ousting dictators without necessarily a plan for what comes afterwards.
Not with
Did
me.
that
That,
weigh on your decision?
well, that's why we had different presidents, but with me, that's not.
Él le dicen que
With
Estados
me,
Unidos ha
we've
tenido
had a perfect track record
un
of
pasado en el
winning.
cual saca dictadores
We
y no
win
tiene un
a
plan
lot,
para el país.
and we win.
Él
If
es
you
el
look at
presidente
Soleimani,
ahora.
you look at al-Baghdadi, you look at the Midnight Hammer. Midnight Hammer was incredible. Right now, you wouldn't have peace in the Middle East. We have essentially peace in the Middle East because of that. If we weren't successful with Midnight Hammer, you wouldn't have peace in the Middle East. So, with me, you've had a lot of victory. You've had only victories. You've had no losses. Yeah.
How long do you expect the U.S. to run Venezuela?
Le
And how
preguntan
soon
cuánto
do you
tiempo
want
va a
to
estar
take over the
Estados
So
Unidos
I'd
mandando
like to do
Venezuela.
it quickly, but it takes a period of time. We're rebuilding. We have to rebuild their whole infrastructure.
Ellos
The
dicen que
infrastructure is
entienden
rotted.
que puede ser
It's actually
rápido,
very
pero que van a
dangerous. It's
tener la
blow up
infraestructura.
territory. Oil is very dangerous. It's a very dangerous thing to take out of the ground. It can kill a lot of people. It has killed a lot of people doing just that. The infrastructure is old. It's rotted. Much of it is stuff that we put there 25 years ago, and we're going to be replacing it. And we're going to take a lot of money out so that we can take care of the country. Yeah.
Are you saying that Secretary Rubio and
Mr. President, China, Russia, and Iran have interests in Venezuela. How does this operation affect your relationships with them when
Well,
it
in
comes
terms
to the
of
oil and the
China
drugs?
and Russia, Russia, when we get things straightened out. But in terms of other countries that want oil, we're in the oil business. We're going to sell it to them. We're not going to say we're not going to give it to them. In other words, we'll be selling oil probably in much larger doses because they couldn't produce very much because their infrastructure was so bad. So we'll be selling large amounts of oil to other countries, many of whom are using it now, but I would say many more will come.
are you saying, Mr. President, are you saying that,
Wait, one
Mr.
second,
President,
please.
are
Go
you
ahead,
saying
behind
that,
you, please.
Mr. President, thank you. What is your message to the people of Venezuela today? Of course, the civilian population specifically, they have a lot of questions. What is your message to the people of
That
Venezuela?
you're going to have peace, justice. You're going to have some of the riches that you should have had for a long period of time. It was stolen from you. But you're going to have peace and you're going to have safety. You're going to have justice. You're going to have a country. You're going to have a real country. You're going to have potentially a great country. If you go back 20 years, maybe even a little longer ago, that was a great country and they destroyed it. Remember, I said that if we lose this election, the United States will be Venezuela on steroids. That's what would have happened. Had we lost the election, the 2024 election, we suffered so badly. When you look at the border from 2020, what they did, what Joe Biden administration did to our country should never be forgotten. But if we had to go through another year of that, we would be exactly where Venezuela was in terms. I used to say, if they win, we're going to be Venezuela on steroids. And that's what would have happened.
President, thank you. Are you saying that Secretary Hegseth and Rubio are going to be running Venezuela, and will you be sending in U.S. military
They're going
troops
to be
to
a team
provide?
that's working with the people of Venezuela to make sure that we have Venezuela right. Because for us to just leave, who's going to take over? I mean, there is nobody to take over. You have a vice president who's been appointed by Maduro. And right now she's the vice president and she's, I guess, the president. She was sworn in as president just a little while ago. She had a long conversation with Marco and she said, we'll do whatever you need. I think she was quite gracious, but she really doesn't have a choice. We're going to have this done right. We're not going to just do this with Maduro, then leave like everybody else, leave and say, let it go to hell. If we just left, it has zero chance of ever coming back. We'll run it properly. We'll run it professionally. We'll have the greatest oil companies in the world go in and invest billions and billions of dollars and take out money, use that money in Venezuela. And the biggest beneficiary are going to be the people of Venezuela. And also, I can't stress this strongly enough, the people that got thrown out of Venezuela that are now in the United States. And frankly, some want to stay and some probably want to go back. Yeah.
In the country, and were any of the detained Americans?
Well, right now they're
arrested
very
last night?
protected because nobody's going to mess with us. They're very protected. The people of, and we let them know that you better not touch one of them.
And are you concerned that bad elements of the Maduro regime will remain in place?
Well, we know who they are. We're on them, and they're acting much differently now than they would have acted 2 days ago. Okay, wait, behind you, please.
Mr. President, why is running a country in South America America first?
Well, I think it is because we want to surround ourselves with good neighbors. We want to surround ourselves with stability. We want to surround ourselves with energy. We have tremendous energy in that country. It's very important that we protect it. We need that for ourselves. We need that for the world. And we want to make sure we can protect it. Yes, sir. Please, go ahead.
Is there a message for Cuba and Diaz-Canel?
Well, Cuba is an interesting case. Cuba is, not doing very well right now. That system has not been a very good one for Cuba. The people there have suffered for many, many years. And I think Cuba is going to be something we'll end up talking about because Cuba is a failing nation right now, very badly failing nation. And we want to help the people. It's very similar in the sense that we want to help the people in Cuba, but we want to also help the people that were forced out of Cuba and living in this country. Do you want to say something about that, Marco, please?
Well, I mean, I just gave you a statement a few minutes ago about, when the president speaks, you should take him seriously. So suffice it to say, Cuba is a disaster. It's run by incompetent, senile men, and in some cases, not senile, but incompetent nonetheless. It has no economy. It's in total collapse. And by the way, they were, all of the guards that helped protect Maduro, this is well known, their whole spy agency, all that were full of Cubans. I mean, it's amazing. This poor island took over Venezuela in some cases. One of the biggest problems the Venezuelans have is they have to declare independence from Cuba that tried to basically colonize it from a security standpoint. So, yeah, look, if I lived in Havana and I was in the government, I'd be concerned, at least a little bit. Well, the president already announced a week ago that anything that's sanctioned oil, it's not going to be allowed to get there. So that's a pre-existing.
The answer is yes. Yes. No, we haven't. No, we haven't.
Mr. President.
Mr.
President, on Monday.
Oh, I think it would be very tough for her to be the leader. She doesn't have the support within or the respect within the country. She's a very nice woman, but she doesn't have the respect.
Mr. President, is it possible that the U.S. ends up administrating Venezuela for years?
Well, it won't cost us anything because the money coming out of the ground is very substantial. So it's not going to cost us anything. We want safety there. We want to be surrounded by countries that aren't housing all of our enemies all over the world. That's what was happening. And you don't want to have that. But we're going to be rebuilding and we're not spending money. The oil companies are going to go in. They're going to spend money. We're going to take back the oil that, frankly, we should have taken back a long time ago. A lot of money is coming out of the ground. We're going to get reimbursed for all of that. We're going to get reimbursed for everything that we spend. So it's going to be a very important. This is a very big evening that took place last night. We have to be surrounded by safe, secure countries. And we also have to have energy, very important. We have to have energy that's real energy, not where they're getting 4% and 5% of the energy out of the ground. You take a look, it was such a disaster. So what's going to happen with Venezuela, I think, over the next period of a year is going to be a great thing. And the people of Venezuela will be the biggest beneficiaries.
Going to send in the U.S. military.
Mr. President, thank you. What did you last speak to Maduro about when you spoke? And is the
Well,
US
I don't want to
at
get
war
into
with
the
Venezuela?
conversations, but I did have conversations with him, and I said, you got to surrender. And I actually thought he was pretty close to doing so, but now he wished he did, yeah.
Que Maduro en algún momento estuvo dado a ceder, pero bueno, no lo hizo.
You recently pardoned the former president of Honduras who was convicted of many drug trafficking. Can you explain how these two situations are
Well,
different? And would you ever
yeah,
pardon Maduro?
I endorsed, as you know, the winning president, the man who won in Honduras. I endorsed the man who won in Chile. I endorsed the man who won in Argentina. And we are doing very well with that whole group. What the man that I pardoned was, if you could equate it to us, he was treated like the Biden administration treated a man named Trump. That didn't work out too well for them. This was a man who was persecuted very unfairly. He was the head of the country. He was persecuted very unfairly. And there are a number of them. And we felt that it was a very unfair situation that happened to him. He's also a party member of the man who won. So obviously the people liked what I did. And one of the reasons that was done is because of the fact that the party in power felt very strongly that that man was treated very badly. I studied it very quickly, and then I studied it in great detail. I went to a lot of the people standing behind me, and they felt that that man was persecuted and treated very badly. That's why I gave him a pardon.
You referenced boots on the ground earlier. Can you just sort of button this up? Do you envision the U.S. military having a presence in Venezuela as the U.S. runs that
Well,
country?
no, we're going to have a presence in Venezuela as it pertains to oil because we have to have.
Él dice
We're
que va a
sending
tener
our
presencia en
expertise
Venezuela
in.
sobre el tema del petróleo.
So you may need something, not very much, but no, we're going to be taking out a tremendous amount of wealth out of the ground,
Ellos dicen
and
que va a
that wealth
tomar
is going
mucho,
to the people of Venezuela
que va a
and
tomar
people
mucho,
from outside of Venezuela that used to be in
apoyo,
Venezuela,
mucho
and
wealth,
it goes also to the
palabra en
United
español.
States of America in the form of
Mucha fortuna, de
reimbursement
alguna forma en
for the
Venezuela y se
damages
va a
caused us by that country.
invertir en
So I
Venezuela.
want to thank you all very much. Thank you. Do you have one? Yes, please.
Creo que va a
You were
ser
so
la
nice
última
before. I'm
pregunta.
going to give you the final question.
Thank
Go
Thank
ahead.
you, Mr.
Unless it's a
President.
bad question, in
It's
which
about
case I'll
Putin.
go one word. It's about who?
It's about Putin. If you want
About Putin. Well, that's
Okay.
always nice
You had
to
a
talk
phone.
about Putin.
You had a phone call with him
Yeah.
on Monday. Did he talk at all about Maduro? Did y'all talk about this?
No, we didn't.
And
We
then,
never spoke about Maduro.
are you mad at him right now? I mean, there's this
I'm not
intelligence.
thrilled with Putin. I'm not thrilled with Putin.
Está hablando
He's
de
killing
Putin.
too many people. I thought that would be so. I settled 8 1/4 war. You know what the 1/4 was? Thailand and Cambodia. I did it again. They broke out, and I did it in about 5 hours, and I settled it. I'm giving myself 1/4, so I'm up to now 8 1/4. In other words, I settled the war, but then they broke out. They had a pretty bad
Está
breakout
hablando sobre
over the last 4 days. I got
tiene
them
que ver
to
con
go back
su
to peace.
geopolítica en otros lugares
So I
del
only
planeta.
give 1/4. I thought the easiest one would be one of the easier ones would be Russia, Ukraine. It's
Y
not.
que él
And
pensó que
they
la
both
guerra
have
más fácil para él iba a
done
ser la de
some
Rusia y
pretty
Ucrania, pero
bad
no ha
things.
sido.
And look, that's Biden's war. That's not my war. But I want to stop the lives. Did you see where last month 30,000? It was 27,000 the month before. 30,000, mostly soldiers, were killed this last month. 30,000. I want to stop that. You know, I got NATO to pay 5% instead of the 2% that they weren't paying. They weren't paying 2, now they pay 5. And we send them a lot of munitions. We send them a lot of things, missiles and various other things, a lot. And they pay. The United States is not losing money. We're probably making money on that. It's the last thing I care about. I just want to stop all those people. We're losing 25, 30,000 human beings. They come from 2 places that are very far away. But if I can stop, because it's something I've been pretty good at doing, deals, I guess. It's all a deal. Life is a big deal. But if I can stop that war and stop 30,000 young people, in addition to the fact that people are being killed in Kiev, people are being killed in other cities throughout, a much smaller number, but they're being killed, viciously killed. So I'm not happy about it. I thought that would be something that would get solved. We have Mr. Witkoff here. I think that we're making progress, but that's a war that should have never happened. If I were president, it would have never happened. Putin says it. Everybody says it. If I were president, that would have never happened. But I inherited that war. That was Joe Biden, Zelensky, and Putin. I came into the situation, and it's a mess. And I will say this. I watched an operation last night that was so precise, that was so brilliant. I mean, it was incredible. If we had our people, like this general and our people involved, that war would not have gone on very long, that I can tell you. That war, to use an old term, that war has become a bloodbath, and we want it to get stopped. Thank you very much, everybody.
Bueno, así cierra la rueda de prensa el presidente Donald Trump. Nos vamos a desconectar, ya tuvimos un buen rato con ustedes, pero creo que la parte más importante de esta historia está orientada en que, número 1, que dice que ellos están mandando en el país, número 2, que están hablando con Delcy Rodríguez y que Delcy Rodríguez está dispuesta a cooperar con lo que ellos están proponiendo, quien era la vicepresidenta de Venezuela, y que Maduro, su destino final sería Nueva York. En la fotografía que la tenemos en TikTok está allí puesta para que puedan tener una idea de qué es lo que sigue. Vamos a desconectarnos, probablemente nos volvamos a conectar en el transcurso del día. Gracias a cada uno de ustedes que ha estado con nosotros. Es súper importante. Alguien preguntaba qué va a pasar con los venezolanos dentro de Estados Unidos. La respuesta es muy simple. hay que esperar, pero si tienen algún caso de asilo, deben comunicarse con sus abogados para que les puedan dar luces de qué puede pasar, cuáles son los escenarios y sobre todo qué tipo de información extra podrían tener que tener en este proceso donde Estados Unidos está anunciando que ellos están coordinando el país. Recordemos que esos casos de asilo siempre están conectados a la situación país, así que es importante que hagan esas comunicaciones con quien tiene. Eh, Nos vamos, que tengan una linda tarde y vamos a estar atentos a lo que siga pasando en el transcurso del día.